And now here's the snap. The kick. Is it going? And it is going right. And that is the end of the game as Jason Myers just missed the field goal.
But in an indoor stadium, Jason Myers still should have got that.
So the Seattle Seahawks just dropped their game to the Los Angeles Rams 17-16. It was a last field goal just missed by Jason Myers, and now the Seahawks have dropped to 6-4. They are now one game back from the division because the 49ers won as well. At first, the game was starting fantastic for the Seahawks. I believe they had a 13-0 lead, and then they just completely blew it. Only scored 3 total points going into the second half, I would believe. Let me double check and make sure that I am correct on that. No, they had 13 points already. So they had 13 points going into the second half, only scored 3 total points in the second half. And before we even get into this, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification, and also consider donating to the channel as well, as I would love to grow this channel as quickly as possible. No, I mean, I love this channel, so let's get into it. So the Seahawks, they had a 13-0 lead, had a quick touchdown by Geno Smith over to DK Metcalf, and then it was just a field goal thing. The Rams also had a drive. They were in the red zone, but then they messed up by not going for it on 4th down. And then the Seahawks, they had some drives going, but then it was stopped by the defense, and they just could not finish the drive to force those field goals to happen. It was 2 field goals by Jason Myers. So at least things were going its way, but then Stafford really did drive the ball into the end zone for the touchdown to make it 13-7. And then going into the second half, it still looked like Seahawks had that momentum, but then the shifting momentum was when, although it was still a close game, the Seahawks still had their opportunities, but then Geno Smith suffered an injury where Aaron Donald completely just smashed into him, forcing Drew Lock to play, and then Drew Lock had 2 stalled drives, including an interception, which led the Rams to score their field goal. But however, the Seahawks did have their opportunity with Geno Smith back into it. He threw really few good passes, including one big one to DK Metcalf, giving the opportunity to get that field goal, 55-yard field goal for Jason Myers, but Jason Myers unfortunately missed. It was a 55-yard attempt, and then the Seahawks lost the game. So give me your takeaways. So let's talk about something positive, like C-Films. What do you think the positives were out of this game?
So I think some of the positives are, like, one of the things I say the positives are is that when a player gets injured, can you blame it on the player for being injured? Like, injuries happen. So your next player has to step up. But I think one of the things I really saw resilience in is Geno Smith. When there is pressure on the line and he needs to make big plays, he's getting better at handling the pressure of not fumbling when we need him to do well. Like, he had, like you said, a couple of really good passes that got us into field goal range. I say that was a success. So Geno was a success in this game.
Yeah, so that's a good point, because considering what we saw out of Drew Lock, I mean, I said it, like, I don't like Geno Smith that much, but I certainly don't like Drew Lock, and he certainly proved that he is just not the quarterback, especially that big pass to Tyler Lockett. It really just seemed that he really just forced it. Like, didn't it feel like he was just trying to force it and he was just really desperate?
Drew, the thing about Drew Lock is he's not as mobile, and so he tries to stay more in the pocket. Because he's more in the pocket, he sometimes holds on the ball too long, and the decisions he makes, it's like kind of, like you said, could be forced.
Yeah, it definitely felt forced on that one. And the defense, you really just couldn't put too much of it on the defense, but I will say, so many pass interferences and so many unnecessary roughness, which really did cost. And you saw that the penalties was the huge difference maker, where their penalties contributed to 100 yards worth of damage. And yes, there were some controversial calls, like the pass interference at the goal line. But at that point, like, they should know that they're going to get calls for that. So they really should have, like, not done any of those things. And that huge tackle by Devon Witherspoon, when he just carried him and just threw him down, that was obviously going to warrant a flag. I know that you didn't like the flag, but it was like, well, rules are rules. You just can't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
factors of this game was Drew Lock's bad play, unfinished drives, too many penalties. Like the penalties, like if crazy to think, the Seahawks defense actually did their part. I think we can agree the defense did their part.
Yes.
Like if you take away the flags, this is a blowout game.
Let's see here.
And while you're taking a look, let me know when you're ready. But one other thing that I want to put on Geno Smith is after that big pass by DK Metcalf, I think because he was running the ball, and now to think of it, if he made just one more quick pass to just get the yardage a little bit shorter for Jason Myers, I think that could have been a difference maker. But you decide to just give the ball to Charbonnet. So also like some play calling I thought was very questionable too, because there was like some 3rd and 1s that we saw where they should have just ran the ball or just make a short pass, but instead Geno just threw it all the way down. I'm not putting it on Geno. I'm putting it on just bad offensive coordinating. Now, did you find the source that you were looking for?
Yes. And so, well, one of the things I noticed, and one of the things we did good, was like the Seahawks defense did fine. Like they had 6 points. Like for fantasy, they had 6 points for me. And Geno had like his average. He had the 13 points. So he played decently well. But like you said, at the end of the day, it's like some of the penalties hurt us and like some of the finished drives hurt us. But I think overall, like we played good. It's just like you can't – I always tell this and I always think this in the back of my head. Never rely on your kicker to win you a game.
You just can't. Now, credit to Geno Smith that he did drive the ball to at least field goal range. But I think there should have been one more pass after that catch by DK Metcalf. Or another thing he could have done was just spike the ball, stop the clock, because that's why I was screaming, stop the clock, stop the clock. So I think had you just stopped the clock, that would have given you time to come up with another passing play to get Jason Myers more into range. So I think there was a lot of like miscommunication and just really disorganization on this offensive drive. So I think the other factor, like, and people want to say that it was the refs with their crap calls, sure. But there's other ways to win the game. Like, would you agree that you should also not rely on the refs' calls to win a game?
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that added up to the Seahawks not winning this game. You know, and I think what happens is that a lot of times we scrutinize teams a lot more when they lose games than when they win games, because the Rams didn't really play any better than we did. You got to admit, but they won the game, and it's like, you know, if Jason Myers didn't miss the field goal, people would be like, if he made the field goal, we'd be like, okay, wow, the Seahawks did fine. We would be talking about all these little things that happen.
I would.
Like the penalties.
I would have. I would have pointed them. I would have pointed them all out. Even on blowouts, I still would have pointed out the little things. But I'm just a different fan.
Yeah, because most general fans, they forgive things when people win games. And so I think the game has a lot of things that lead up to something. Like the first thing you say is like, okay, we copped out for we got a touchdown. We copped out for basically 2 field goals after that. Okay, we weren't able to finish the drives. So we're saying, okay, well, we still got points, so that's still not a bad thing. But did we finish the drives and get touchdowns? No. So I'm going to say that's not like the best result, but it's still better than nothing. And then the other thing you got to think about, on the other hand, is all these penalties that we kept causing that kept their drives alive. Our defense did cause penalties that kept the actual drives alive, because they didn't even get, like in my fantasy, they didn't even get 10 points, the Seahawks. They ended up getting 6. This other guy I was playing against had the Commanders defense and got 11. So did our defense really do the best they could do? They had one really good set of drives where they stopped them on 4th down. That was like one really good set of downs they had. But beyond that, what did they do really well?
They didn't really do much at all.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So you could blame it on the defense. That's one direction you could go. You could go on the fact that Drew Lock didn't do anything when he was in offense. He went 3 and out, twice?
And an interception. Don't forget about that.
Yeah. And an interception. So you can say, okay, Drew Lock. Well, if Geno was playing in there, maybe Geno would have not caused that problem. We would have won the game. So you're saying, okay, Geno getting injured. We can't blame it on Geno for getting injured. Players get injured. And do you expect them to come in when they're injured playing like that? You know?
No, but I'll give it to Geno that he at least tried to finish the game. So as much as I don't like Geno, I will still give it to him that he at least did, which was very respectable because I don't see Drew Lock doing those kind of things. But
Yeah.
the bottom line is it's a team game. Everything has to equally be the blame. Like you can't just put everything into one thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything is a factor because football is a team game. So let's just summarize it. And let's do it back and forth like you and me. So reasons the Seahawks lost the game. I will go first. Drew Lock.
I go the defense.
And then penalties.
Trying to think. Field goal.
Yeah, the field goal. And then maybe Smith should have spike the ball and make one more pass. So
yeah, but when you're in a rushing offense, you don't always think the clearest sometimes. And so I would say that's like if I had to rank things on like what I blame the most on, that would be something I think lower on my list. And expecting a kicker to make a 55-yard field goal, I don't blame it on that as much as I blame it on other things. I say the two things are the defense and the penalties. I blame it on more than anything else. Or you could blame it on Drew Lock for going 3 and out twice and getting an interception.
Those are the two things. And also don't forget the coaching with bad play calls, but everything's a factor. But
it is. But if you had to rank them, it's kind of hard. Like I know people in their head all rank them differently. But like we said, we just came up with like 5 or 6 different answers.
I will say the penalties. The penalties is absolutely number one because had they cut the penalties in half, this is a blowout game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, that's going to be it. Those are our thoughts on the Seahawks game. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching this game, and thank you for watching this post-game show. And once again, if you did like this show, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification. And thanks for watching, and go Hawks.
Mm-hmm. Go Hawks. And hashtag don't quit your day job and don't drink.
And then once Kenneth Walker went out, no running game. So that's another good reason to say that Kenneth Walker being hurt was also a factor.